The galaxy was old, very old. Thousands of species had risen from their home worlds. They had built ships, they had traveled between stars, they had met each other. Some became friends, some became enemies. But over millions of years, they had learned to live together in a system they called the Galactic Conclave. The Conclave had rules. The strong ruled. The weak served. This was the way of things. No one questioned it. No one tried to change it. The powerful species took what they wanted. The weak species gave what was demanded. War happened sometimes, but it was controlled. It had limits. Everyone understood their place. At the top of this order sat the Vrath Empire. The Vrath were tall creatures. They stood 3 meters high. Their skin was thick and gray like stone. Their eyes were small and red. They had 4 arms and 2 legs. They had ruled their region of space for 50,000 years. No one had ever defeated them in battle. No one had ever tried in a very long time. The Vrath believed they were the greatest species in the galaxy. They believed this because no one had ever proved them wrong. Their ships were massive. Their weapons were powerful. Their soldiers were fearless. When the Vrath wanted something, they took it. When someone defied them, they destroyed that someone. This was their way. This had always been their way. Then humanity arrived. Earth was a small blue world on the edge of the galaxy. The humans had only recently learned to travel between stars. Their ships were small and slow. Their weapons were weak by galactic standards. They had no allies. They had no protectors. They were alone in a universe they did not understand. The first contact between humans and the Conclave happened quietly. A human exploration ship met a trading vessel from the Mallory species. The Mallory were peaceful merchants. They told the humans about the galaxy. They warned them about the Vrath. They advised humans to be careful. Find a powerful species to protect you, the Mallory captain had said. Pay tribute. Show respect. Do not draw attention to yourselves. This is how small species survive. But humans were strange creatures. They did not like being told they were small. They did not like the idea of paying tribute. They had a history of fighting for their freedom. They had fought each other for thousands of years. They had only recently learned to work together. Now they looked at the stars with hungry eyes. Humanity spread quickly. In 50 years, they built colonies on 20 worlds. They built space stations. They built mining operations on asteroids. They traded with whoever would trade with them. They learned new technologies and made them better. They grew stronger every year. The Vrath watched this with interest. In the great hall of the Vrath homeworld, the High Council gathered. The hall was massive. It could hold 10,000 Vrath. Today, only the 12 members of the High Council were present. They sat in a circle around a holographic display that showed the human territories. They grow too fast, said Commander Drathok. He was the leader of the Vrath military. He was old and scarred from many battles. They do not show proper respect to anyone. They act like they are equal to species that have existed for millions of years. They are children, said another council member, barely out of their cradle. Give them time. They will learn their place. Or we can teach them their place, Drathok replied. Now, before they become a problem. The supreme leader of the Vrath listened in silence. His name was Malachar. He had ruled the empire for 300 years. He had seen many species rise and fall. He had destroyed some of them himself. What do we know about these humans? Malachar asked. A scientist stepped forward. They are weak physically. Their bodies are soft. They live short lives, about 80 to 100 years. They need specific conditions to survive. They breathe oxygen. They need water. They cannot survive in extreme temperatures. By every measure, they are inferior creatures. Their technology? Primitive. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are weak. Their shields would fall to our weakest attack vessels. Malachar was quiet for a long moment. Then why do you bring them to my attention, Drathok? Drathok stood. Because they do not behave like a weak species should behave. They do not bow. They do not pay tribute. When our scout ships enter their territory, they send warnings instead of greetings. They tell our ships to leave. They dare to give orders to the Vrath. A murmur went through the council. This was indeed unusual. Perhaps they simply do not know who we are. Someone suggested. They know, Drathok said. The Mallory and others have told them. They know about our power. They know about our history. And still they refuse to show respect. They act like they are our equals. Malachar made his decision. Then we will teach them. Drathok, take a fleet. Destroy their outer colonies. Kill enough of them to make them understand. When they beg for mercy, we will give them terms. They will pay tribute for 1,000 years. They will serve the Empire. Drathok smiled. It was an ugly smile. It will be my pleasure. Supreme Leader. The Vrath fleet gathered in secret. 100 warships. Each one was larger than anything humans had ever built. Each one carried weapons that could burn cities to ash in seconds. Each one was crewed by Vrath warriors who had never known defeat. They jumped through space toward human territory. The journey took 3 days. On the 4th day, they arrived at the human colony called New Hope. It was one of humanity's largest settlements outside Earth. 3 million people lived there. The Vrath did not send warnings. They did not ask for surrender. They simply appeared in orbit and began firing. The colony had no real defenses. A few small patrol ships tried to fight back. They were destroyed in seconds. The orbital stations fell next. Then the ships in the harbor. Then the cities on the surface. The attack lasted 2 hours. When it was done, New Hope was a burning ruin. 2 million people were dead. The survivors fled in whatever ships they could find. Some escaped. Many did not. The Vrath recorded everything. They sent the recording to every species in the conclave. This is what happens to those who disrespect the Vrath Empire, the message said. Let this be a lesson to all. The galaxy watched. The galaxy said nothing. This was how things worked. The strong punished the weak. The weak learned their place. It was sad, but it was normal. But the Vrath were not finished. They will surrender now. Malachar had predicted. All weak species surrender after the first blow. But the humans did not surrender. Instead, they sent warships to protect their remaining colonies. These ships were small and outdated. They stood no chance against the Vrath fleet, but they came anyway. They fought anyway. The Vrath destroyed them easily. But more came. And more. The humans kept fighting even when they had no hope of winning. They kept dying even when surrender would have saved them. This confused the Vrath. This was not how weak species behaved. They are stupid. Drathok reported to the High Council. They waste their lives in pointless resistance. But we are killing them efficiently. Soon they will have no ships left. And then? Malachar asked. Then we will go to their homeworld. We will show them true devastation. After that, they will break. The campaign continued for 6 months. The Vrath moved from colony to colony. Each time, the humans fought. Each time, the humans lost. The Vrath killed millions. They destroyed cities. They burned farms and factories. They showed no mercy. The galaxy continued to watch. Some species felt sorry for the humans. The Malori sent messages of sympathy. Other species offered to negotiate on humanity's behalf. But no one helped directly. No one sent ships or soldiers. That was not how things worked. Finally, the Vrath fleet arrived at Earth. Humanity's homeworld was beautiful from space. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. It looked peaceful. It looked fragile. Malachar himself came for this final act. He stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at the planet below. Billions of them live down there. His aide reported. This is their origin world. Their sacred place. They will surely surrender now to save it. Send the terms, Malachar commanded. The message went out. Humanity was ordered to surrender, unconditionally. They would disband all military forces. They would pay tribute forever. Their leaders would come to the Vrath homeworld in chains. In return, the Vrath would allow them to live. The humans asked for 1 hour to discuss. Malachar granted it. He was confident. He had seen this before. When faced with total destruction, every species surrendered. This was the natural order of things. 1 hour passed, then 2, then 3. Where is their response? Malachar demanded. His communications officer looked confused. They are not responding, Supreme Leader. There is no communication from the planet at all. What? They have gone silent. All broadcasts have stopped. All signals have ceased. It is as if the entire planet has shut down. Malachar felt a strange sensation. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was uncertainty. He had not felt uncertain in a very long time. They are planning something, Drathok suggested. Perhaps gathering their remaining forces for a final stand. Against our fleet? That would be suicide. These humans seem fond of suicide. Malachar considered his options. He could begin bombarding the planet immediately. That was the standard protocol. But something held him back. Something about the silence bothered him. "Wait," he commanded. "Give them one more day." 1 day passed. Then another. Then a week. The humans remained silent. No communications. No ships leaving or arriving. The planet below looked exactly the same. But nothing came from it. Not a single signal. After 2 weeks, Malachar lost patience. "Begin the bombardment." The Vrath fleet opened fire. The first wave of weapons struck the major cities. Explosions bloomed across the planet's surface. Millions died in seconds. The Vrath continued firing for 3 days straight. They targeted military installations, government buildings, factories, population centers. When they finally stopped, much of Earth's surface was burning. Cities had become craters. Forests had become ash. The death toll was beyond counting. "It is done," Drathok reported. "Their civilization is destroyed. Any survivors will be scattered and broken. They will never threaten anyone again." Malachar looked at the ruined world below. He felt satisfied. Another species had learned its place. Another example had been made. "Send word to the Conclave," he ordered. "The human problem has been solved. Let all species remember what happens to those who defy the Vrath Empire." The message went out across the galaxy. Species received it with resignation. Another young civilization had been crushed. Sad, but not surprising. The strong ruled. The weak died. This was the way of things, but something was wrong. 3 days after the bombardment ended, a Malori trader passing through the system detected something strange. Ships were leaving Earth, not from the surface, but from somewhere beneath it, from underground. The trader watched in confusion as hundreds of ships emerged from hidden locations all over the planet. They rose up from beneath mountains, from under oceans, from inside hollow asteroids that had been positioned in orbit. The ships were unlike anything the Malori had ever seen. They were angular and dark. They moved with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. They gathered in orbit around the wounded Earth, forming a massive formation. The trader sent a message to anyone who would listen. "Something is happening at Earth. The humans. They are not dead. They are coming out." This message was intercepted by everyone, including the Vrath. Malachar received the report with disbelief. "Impossible. We destroyed them. We burned their world." "Apparently not completely," Drathok replied. "They had hidden forces. Underground. We did not detect them." "How? How could they hide something this large from our sensors?" "I do not know. But they did." Malachar felt that strange sensation again. Uncertainty. And something else. Something that might have been fear. "How many ships?" he asked. "Our scouts report. Thousands. More emerging every hour." "Thousands? They only had a few hundred before." "They have more now. Many more. And they are different from before. Larger. More advanced. We do not recognize the designs." Malachar stood in silence for a long moment. He had ruled the Empire for 300 years. He had destroyed countless enemies. He had never felt afraid. He told himself he was not afraid now. "It does not matter," he said finally. "We have 100 warships here, each one worth 1,000 of their vessels. Whatever they have built, we will destroy it. Prepare for battle." The Vrath fleet arranged itself for combat. Weapons powered up, shields activated, warriors prepared for war. On Earth's surface, in a bunker that had survived the bombardment, a human woman stood before a communication screen. Her name was Admiral Chen. She had commanded Earth's defense for the past year. She had watched millions of her people die. She had ordered retreats from battles they could not win. She had hidden and planned and waited while the Vrath burned her world. Now, finally, she was ready. "All ships," she said, her voice calm and cold. "This is Admiral Chen. For 1 year, we have suffered. We have died. We have lost friends and family and everything we held dear. We did this so that we could prepare, so that we could build, so that we could survive." She paused, her eyes hard as stone. "Now our preparation is complete. Now we stop hiding. Now we stop running." She looked at the tactical display showing the Vrath fleet. 100 warships that had killed millions of humans. 100 warships that thought they had won. "Today," Admiral Chen continued, "we begin our answer. Today, we show the Vrath and the galaxy what humanity truly is. Today, we begin our retaliation." She gave the order. "All ships. Attack." The human fleet moved. Thousands of dark ships surged forward toward the Wrath. They moved with terrible speed and perfect coordination. They did not slow down. They did not hesitate. The Wrath opened fire. Their weapons were powerful. They had destroyed countless enemies with these weapons, but the human ships did not fall. Their shields absorbed hits that should have torn them apart. Their armor deflected blasts that should have burned through steel. They kept coming. Closer. Faster. And then they fired back. The galaxy watched. The entire galaxy watched as the battle began. They expected to see the humans destroyed. They expected the Wrath to win easily, as they always did. What they saw instead made them go still. What they saw instead was impossible. What they saw instead changed everything. The first Wrath warship died before anyone understood what was happening. It was a destroyer called the Crushing Might. It had served the Empire for 200 years. It had won 37 battles. It had never taken serious damage. It had never faced an enemy it could not defeat. A single human ship targeted it. The human ship was smaller, perhaps 1/3 the size of the Crushing Might. By all logic, by all experience, the human ship should have been destroyed in seconds. Instead, the human ship fired once. A beam of white light shot across space. It was not like any weapon the Wrath had seen before. It was not a laser or a plasma bolt or a missile. It was something else. Something new. The beam struck the Crushing Might's shields. The shields, which had survived countless battles, lasted for exactly 1.3 seconds. Then they failed. The beam continued through the hull. It burned through armor that was supposed to be impossible to penetrate. It passed through the ship from one end to the other. The Crushing Might broke apart. 2,000 Wrath warriors died without understanding what had killed them. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander Drathok watched in disbelief. What was that? What weapon is that? No one could answer. More human ships fired. More beams of white light filled the space around Earth. More Wrath warships began to die. The Wrath returned fire with everything they had. Their weapons were still powerful. They still hit their targets, but the human shields held. Shot after shot struck the human ships. The shields flickered but did not fall. The ships kept coming. They kept firing. Their shields should not be able to stop our weapons. A Wrath scientist reported. The mathematics do not work. This should not be possible. And yet, it is happening. Drathok replied through gritted teeth. Supreme Leader Malachar watched the battle from his throne. His face showed nothing, but inside he felt something he had not felt in centuries. True fear. The kind of fear that comes when everything you believe is proven wrong. The humans were not supposed to be able to do this. They were a young species. They had primitive technology. They were weak and soft and fragile. Everything the Wrath knew told them that humans were inferior, that they would break easily, that they would surrender. Instead, the humans were destroying the mightiest fleet in the galaxy. In the first hour of battle, the Wrath lost 23 warships. They managed to destroy only 5 human vessels. This was an impossible ratio. The Wrath always won by overwhelming margins. They always crushed their enemies with ease. Now they were being crushed instead. We must retreat, Drathok advised. His voice was heavy with shame. He had never suggested retreat before. He had never imagined he would need to. Malachar hesitated. Retreat would mean admitting defeat. The Wrath did not admit defeat. They had not lost a major battle in 10,000 years. If they retreated now, the galaxy would know. The galaxy would see that the Wrath could be beaten. Supreme Leader, Drathok pressed. If we stay, we will lose everything. Our fleet will be destroyed. We will have nothing left to defend the Empire. Malachar closed his eyes. When he opened them, they burned with humiliation and rage. Sound the retreat. The order went out. The remaining Wrath ships, 67 of them now, began to turn. They activated their jump drives to escape from this nightmare. But the humans were not finished. Admiral Chen watched from her command ship as the Wrath tried to run. Her face was still calm. Her voice was still cold. But inside, something burned. A fire that had started when the first human colony died. A fire that had grown with every death. Every loss. Every moment of hiding and waiting and preparing. They are trying to escape, her aide reported. I see them. Do we let them go? Admiral Chen thought of New Hope. 3 million people. Her sister had lived there with her family. 2 children, ages 6 and 9. They had burned with everyone else. She thought of the other colonies. 14 million dead. She had known some of them personally. Friends from the academy. Former crew members. People who had laughed and loved and hoped for the future. She thought of Earth. The bombardment that had lasted 3 days. The cities turned to ash. Her parents had lived in Beijing. The Vrath had hit Beijing in the first hour. No, she said. We do not let them go. The human fleet spread out. Ships moved to block the Vrath escape routes. Jump drives were targeted and destroyed. One by one, the retreating ships were caught and killed. It took 3 more hours. When it was done, only 12 Vrath ships remained. They were surrounded, their weapons depleted, their shields failing. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel. Vrath Fleet, this is Admiral Chen of the Human Defense Force. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Your supreme leader will surrender to me personally. Any resistance will result in immediate destruction. On his flagship, Malachar heard the message. His hands shook with rage. He had ruled for 300 years. He had never surrendered to anyone. Supreme Leader, Drathok said quietly, if we surrender, perhaps we can negotiate. Perhaps we can save our people. The Vrath do not surrender. The Vrath have never faced anything like this. Malachar looked around his bridge. His warriors, proud and strong, stood waiting for his decision. They would fight if he ordered it. They would die if he ordered it. That was their loyalty. But what purpose would their deaths serve? The battle was lost. The fleet was destroyed. If they all died here, there would be nothing left to protect the homeworld. The supreme leader of the Vrath Empire, who had never bent his knee to anyone, spoke the words that broke his heart. We surrender. The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On the Mallory homeworld, the High Merchant watched the reports in stunned silence. He had lived for 400 years. He had seen many things. He had never seen the Vrath surrender. This cannot be real, he whispered. His aide nodded slowly. It is confirmed by multiple sources. 88 Vrath warships destroyed. The Supreme Leader captured. The humans have won. But how? They were nothing. They were just a young species with primitive ships. How could they defeat the Vrath? We do not know. No one knows. The humans are not talking. The High Merchant felt a chill run through him. He had advised the humans once, through the captain who first contacted them. He had told them to pay tribute and show respect. He had told them that was how small species survived. They had not listened. And now they had done the impossible. What does this mean? His aide asked. The High Merchant had no answer. The rules of the galaxy, the rules that had existed for millions of years, had suddenly changed. The strong no longer ruled simply because they were strong. The weak were no longer weak just because everyone thought they were. Everything was different now. On 100 worlds, the story was the same. Species that had bowed to the Vrath for millennia watched in disbelief. Species that had paid tribute and offered submission saw that such things were not inevitable. Species that had given up hope began to feel something they had forgotten, hope itself. But there was also fear. Because if the humans could defeat the Vrath, what else could they do? What would they do next? The humans answered that question 3 days later. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her command ship, the Vengeance. They had left Earth's orbit. They had gathered their fleet. They had resupplied and repaired and prepared. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we are receiving transmissions from many species. They want to know our intentions. They want to negotiate. Tell them our intentions will become clear soon enough. Tell them there is nothing to negotiate. Some are offering assistance. The Mallory, the Trilon, others. They want to help us. Chen's eyes narrowed. Where was their help when our colonies burned? Where was their assistance when the Vrath bombarded our world? They sat and watched. They said nothing. They did nothing. They were afraid. Yes, they were. And now they are afraid again. Good. Let them be afraid. She turned to her tactical officer. Set course for the Vrath Empire. We begin the next phase. The officer hesitated. Admiral, our intelligence suggests the Vrath have many more ships in their home territory. We caught their expeditionary fleet by surprise, but their full military is still intact. We will be facing far greater numbers. I am aware. We could wait. Build more ships. Prepare more thoroughly. No. Chen's voice was hard. We waited once. We hid and prepared while they killed our people. We gave them time to think, time to adjust. We will not make that mistake again. We hit them now. While they are confused, while they are afraid, we do not stop until this is finished. Understood, Admiral. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace. 3,000 ships, moving together toward the heart of the Vrath Empire. In the depths of that empire, on the Vrath homeworld, chaos reigned. The news of the defeat had arrived before the survivors did. At first, no one believed it. Surely the reports were wrong. Surely the mighty Vrath fleet had not been destroyed by humans, by those soft, weak, short-lived creatures. Then the 12 surviving ships limped home. Then Supreme Leader Malakar's capture was confirmed. Then the galaxy's broadcasts showed the aftermath of the battle, the wreckage of Vrath warships floating in Earth's orbit. Then the Vrath believed. The High Council gathered in emergency session. Without Malakar, the Council had no clear leader. Power struggles began immediately. Different factions blamed each other for the disaster. Accusations flew. Threats were made. Meanwhile, the military scrambled to organize. The fleet that had attacked Earth was only a portion of Vrath power. They had hundreds more ships at home. They had shipyards that could build more. They had millions of trained warriors. But none of that mattered if they could not understand what had happened. How did the humans defeat us? The question was asked 1,000 times. No one had a good answer. The Vrath scientists studied the recordings from the battle. They analyzed the human weapons. They examined the wreckage of human ships that had been destroyed. What they found terrified them. The human technology is completely different from anything we know, the lead scientist reported to the Council. Their weapons use principles we do not understand. Their shields operate on theories we have not developed. Their ships are built with materials we have never seen. How is this possible? They were a young species. They had nothing. We thought they had nothing. We were wrong. Then where did this technology come from? Did someone give it to them? We found no evidence of that. The technology appears to be human in origin. They developed it themselves. In 50 years, they went from primitive rockets to this. In 50 years, it appears so. A counselor slammed his fist on the table. That is impossible. We have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Our technology has evolved slowly over millennia. No species can advance this fast. The scientist was quiet for a moment. Perhaps we have been wrong about many things. While the Vrath argued, the humans came closer. They hit the first Vrath military base 3 days after leaving Earth. It was a supply station on the edge of the Empire. It had moderate defenses, 100 small ships, a few orbital weapons. The human fleet destroyed it in 40 minutes. They did not stop to celebrate. They did not pause to send messages. They simply gathered their ships and jumped to the next target. The next target was a shipyard. It was larger and better defended. 200 ships, powerful shields, thousands of ground-based weapons. The human fleet destroyed it in 2 hours. They kept moving. Another base, another shipyard, another fleet. The Vrath tried to respond. They sent ships to intercept the humans. Those ships were destroyed. They set ambushes. The humans detected them and destroyed the ambushers instead. They tried to coordinate a major defense, but the humans were too fast. By the time the Vrath organized, the humans had already hit their target and moved on. In 2 weeks, the humans destroyed 43 military installations. They killed 200,000 Vrath warriors. They burned shipyards and weapons factories and command centers. And they kept coming. The galaxy watched in silence. No species had ever done anything like this. No species had ever attacked the Vrath in their home space. No species had ever carved a path of destruction through the mightiest empire in the galaxy. The Mallory High Merchant sat in his chamber, receiving reports. Each one was worse than the last. The humans have destroyed the Vrath Third Fleet. The humans have taken the Fortress of Eternal Night. The humans have burned the colony on Drathis Prime. What are they doing? The High Merchant whispered. Why are they doing this? His aide answered quietly. They are doing what we all wished we could do. They are fighting back. But the Vrath attacked them. The war should be over. The humans won. They could negotiate peace now. They could take their place in the conclave. Why continue? The aide was silent for a long moment. Perhaps they do not want peace. Perhaps they want something else. What else could they want? I do not know. But I think we should be very careful about finding out. On the Vrath homeworld, the situation grew desperate. The human fleet was getting closer every day. More than half the Empire's military had been destroyed. The remaining ships were pulled back to defend the homeworld. But everyone knew that if the humans reached them, the outcome was already decided. The High Council finally elected a new leader. Her name was Saraval. She was young for a Vrath leader, only 150 years old. But she was smart and decisive. She had argued against attacking the humans from the beginning. No one had listened then. They were listening now. "We must negotiate," she told the council. "We must end this war before there is nothing left." Negotiate? With humans? We do not negotiate with inferior species. They are not inferior. That much is clear now. They have defeated every force we sent against them. They have technology we do not understand. They are not inferior. They are something else. Then what do you propose? I will send a message. I will offer peace. I will offer to return everything we took from them. I will offer compensation for their dead. I will offer whatever they want. And if they refuse? Saraval's face was grim. Then we will have no choice but to keep fighting until one side is completely destroyed. The message was sent. Saraval herself recorded it. She spoke of peace. She spoke of regret for what had happened. She spoke of hope for a new relationship between the Vrath and humanity. The message traveled across space to the human fleet. Admiral Chen received it on the bridge of the Vengeance. She played it once, then again. She sat in silence for a long time, thinking. Her officers waited. Some hoped she would accept. The war could end. The killing could stop. They could go home and rebuild. But when Chen spoke, her voice was cold as the void of space. Send the following response. Your supreme leader killed 60 million of my people. He burned our colonies. He bombarded our homeworld. And now you offer peace? You offer compensation? Add this. There is no compensation for what you have done. There is no peace we will accept. There is only one thing we want now, and we are coming to take it. Her communications officer hesitated. Admiral, what should I say we want? Chen turned to look at him. In her eyes was something terrible. Something that made even her loyal officers feel afraid. Tell them we want justice. Tell them we are bringing it ourselves. Tell them there is nothing they can do to stop it. The message was sent. The human fleet kept moving. The Vrath prepared for their final stand. And the galaxy, which had watched empires rise and fall for millions of years, fell silent. Because they had never seen anything like this. Because they did not know what would happen next. Because they were beginning to understand that the universe they knew was ending, and something new and frightening was being born in its place. The Vrath homeworld was called Vrathis Prime. It was an ancient world, home to the Vrath species for 500,000 years. Great cities covered its surface. Massive orbital stations circled above. It was the heart of an empire that had ruled a quarter of the galaxy. Now it was afraid. The human fleet had been cutting through Vrath space for 3 weeks. Every day brought news of another defeat, another installation destroyed, another fleet scattered. The humans did not slow down. They did not negotiate. They did not accept surrender. New leader Saraval stood in her command chamber, watching the tactical displays. Red markers showed human positions. Each day, those markers moved closer. Each day, there were fewer Vrath ships to stop them. How long until they reach us? She asked. At their current pace, 4 days. Her military advisor replied. If they accelerate, perhaps 2. How many ships do we have left? For the defense of Vrathis Prime, we have gathered 800 warships, plus orbital defenses, ground batteries, and the planetary shield. Will it be enough? The advisor was quiet. That silence was answer enough. Saraval closed her eyes. She had studied the humans extensively since taking power. She had read every report, watched every recording, analyzed every piece of data. She was trying to understand them, trying to find a weakness, trying to find some way to stop what was coming. What she found instead was a species unlike any other. Tell me again, she said. Tell me how they did this. How did they go from primitive ships to what they have now? The advisor pulled up a timeline. 1 year ago, when we first attacked their colonies, their technology was as we expected. Slow ships, weak weapons, basic shields. Everything we knew told us they would be easy to defeat. And then they went silent. For 1 Earth year, there was no communication from their homeworld. No ships left. No signals transmitted. We assumed they were broken. We assumed they were dying. But they were not dying. No, they were building. The image changed to show captured data from human facilities. When our forces finally reached Earth and began the bombardment, we destroyed much of their surface. But we did not know about what was underneath. The display showed vast underground complexes, cities beneath mountains, factories beneath oceans, entire military bases hidden beneath the ground. The humans had been building underground facilities for decades, the advisor continued. Since before they ever contacted other species, they called it preparation for possible extinction events, asteroid impacts, nuclear war. They had planned for worst-case scenarios, but they could not have known we would attack. No. But when we did attack, they adapted. They moved their entire civilization underground. They hid their people. They hid their scientists. They hid their factories. And they built. Built what? Where did their technology come from? The advisor looked uncomfortable. This is where our analysis becomes uncertain. The humans appear to have made technological leaps that should not be possible. Their weapons use energy principles we have not discovered. Their shields employ theories we have not developed. Their ships are built with materials we cannot identify. That is not an explanation. I know. We have no explanation. The best our scientists can offer is that the humans approached problems differently than we do. They tried things we would consider impossible. They combined technologies in ways we never imagined. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. Saraval stared at the display. In 1 year, we have existed for 500,000 years. Our technology has advanced slowly over that time, and these creatures, in 1 year of desperate construction, created weapons that can destroy our greatest warships. Yes, Saraval felt something she had never experienced before. Not just fear, something deeper. A realization that everything she believed about the universe was wrong. What are they? She whispered. Far away, moving through space at impossible speed. Admiral Chen asked herself the same question. She sat alone in her quarters on the Vengeance, staring at the wall. The battle plans were complete. The fleet was ready. In 4 days, they would reach the Vrath homeworld. In 4 days, the war would end. But Chen could not sleep, could not rest. Her mind kept going back to the same question. What have we become? She remembered Earth before the war. The arguments about space exploration. The debates about whether to expand too quickly. The hopeful messages sent to other species, hoping for friendship and cooperation. She remembered her sister's face. The last video call they had shared before the attack. Her niece and nephew laughing in the background. So young, so full of life. She remembered the day she learned they were dead. The cold feeling that spread through her body. The way the world seemed to lose all color. She remembered the decision made in the deepest bunkers beneath Earth's surface. The gathering of humanity's greatest minds. The question asked by the desperate leaders of a dying world. Can we fight back? Can we win? And she remembered the answer. The terrible, wonderful, terrifying answer. Yes. But it will cost us everything we were. The humans had made a choice. They had looked at the universe and seen that it was cruel. They had seen that the strong crushed the weak. They had seen that kindness was punished and mercy was weakness. And they had decided to become strong. In the underground facilities, human scientists worked with desperate intensity. They tested theories that had been considered impossible. They built machines that should not have functioned. They pushed the boundaries of physics itself. Some experiments failed. Some scientists died. But some experiments succeeded beyond all hope. The breakthrough came from a young physicist named Sarah Park. She had been studying quantum mechanics before the war. When the attacks began, she was moved to a secure facility and told to find a weapon. Any weapon that could help. She did not find a weapon. She found something better. Matter does not work the way we thought, she explained to the military leaders. Reality itself is more flexible than we believed. With the right approach, we can change the rules. They did not understand. They did not need to understand. They only needed results. Sarah and her team worked for 6 months straight. They barely slept. They barely ate. Several of them collapsed from exhaustion. But they kept going. Because above them, their world was burning. Because their families were dying. Because there was no alternative. On day 183, they succeeded. The first new weapon was tested in a deep underground chamber. A beam of light that did not behave like light. An energy that did not follow normal physics. It struck a target, and the target simply stopped existing. The scientists stared in shock. Then they built more. In the shipyards beneath the oceans, human engineers constructed a new fleet. They used materials created in laboratories that had not existed a year before. They installed weapons that would have been science fiction months earlier. They built ships that were smaller than Vrath warships but infinitely more deadly. And they trained crews to operate them. Volunteers who knew they might not survive. Who knew they were going to fight an enemy that had destroyed everything they loved. Who did not care about survival. Who cared only about revenge. Admiral Chen had been one of those volunteers. She had commanded a small patrol ship before the war. She had lost her entire family in the first attack. When they asked for people willing to lead the new fleet, she had been the first to step forward. "Do you understand what we are asking?" The general had said. "This is not a defensive mission. This is not a mission of survival. We are asking you to take everything we have built and use it to hurt them, to make them suffer, to show them that attacking Earth was the worst mistake they ever made." Chen had not hesitated. "I understand." "Good. Because there will be no negotiation, no mercy, no stopping until it is finished. Can you do that?" She had thought of her sister, her niece, her nephew, 2 children who would never grow up. "Yes, I can do that." Now, 3 weeks into the campaign, Chen wondered if she had been right. They had killed so many Vrath. Soldiers, workers, even civilians sometimes, when the fighting spread too wide. The destruction they had caused was beyond measuring, and still she felt nothing. No guilt, no satisfaction, just cold emptiness and the burning need to finish what they had started. "Is this what we were meant to become?" she asked herself. "Is this what survival costs?" She had no answer. She only had orders. She only had her fleet. She only had the next target. She would think about the rest later. If there was a later. On Vrathis Prime, Saraval made her final preparations. "We cannot defeat them in open battle," she told the council. "Their weapons are too powerful. Their ships are too fast. If we meet them in space, we will die." "Then, what do you suggest? Surrender?" "I suggest we use our planetary defenses. We have the strongest shield in the galaxy. Our ground weapons are the most powerful ever built. If we can survive their initial assault, if we can make them bleed enough, perhaps they will agree to negotiate." "You think they will negotiate?" "I do not know. But we must try. The alternative is extinction." The council agreed because they had no other choice. Orders went out. The fleet positioned itself around the planet. The planetary shield powered up, creating a barrier of energy that had never been breached. Ground batteries targeted the space above, ready to fire. The civilians were moved to shelters. The warriors prepared for battle. The entire Vrath species held its breath and waited. 2 days later, the human fleet arrived. They appeared on the edge of the system in a flash of light. 3,000 ships, arranged in perfect formation. They did not rush forward. They did not immediately attack. They simply waited. Saraval watched them on her display. "What are they doing?" "Unknown, leader. They are not moving." An hour passed. Then 2. The humans remained in place, their ships motionless in the darkness. Then a communication came through. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired. Her eyes were cold and empty, but her voice was steady. "Vrath, I am Admiral Chen of the Human Defense Force. I am going to give you one chance. One chance only." Saraval leaned forward. "What are your terms?" "My terms are simple. First, release Supreme Leader Malachar. He is a war criminal. He will be tried for his crimes against humanity and executed. He is already our prisoner. We cannot. Second, disband your military. All of it. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. You will have no military for 100 years. Your security will be provided by species you have wronged." Saraval's face went pale. "That is impossible. Without defense, we would be helpless. Third, pay reparations. Every species you have ever conquered, ever exploited, ever harmed, will be compensated. You will work to pay this debt for 1,000 years if necessary. We cannot accept these terms. They would destroy us." Chen's expression did not change. "Fourth, and finally, acknowledge what you did. Admit to the galaxy that you attacked a peaceful species without provocation. Admit that you killed 60 million innocent people. Admit that you are not the superior beings you claim to be. Saraval was silent. The terms were impossible. No Vrath leader could accept them. It would mean the end of everything they were, everything they had built. You are asking us to surrender everything, she said. Yes. Why? What do you gain from our destruction? Chen's eyes flickered. For a moment, something human showed through the cold mask. I gain nothing. My people have already lost everything. We lost our colonies. We lost our cities. We lost 60 million lives. I lost my family. There is nothing you can give that will make that right. Then why offer terms at all? Because once, before you made us into what we are now, we believed in mercy. We believed that every species deserved a chance to change. We believed in peace. Chen paused. I am giving you one chance because those beliefs meant something to us. Even if they mean nothing to us now. Saraval heard the truth in her words. The humans had not always been this way. They had been changed, forged in fire and pain and loss. What stood before her now was not what humanity had been. It was what the Vrath had created. I need time, Saraval said. Time to consult with my council. You have 1 hour. Then we begin our attack. And I promise you this. If we have to come through your defenses by force, we will not offer terms again. We will continue until there are no Vrath left alive. The transmission ended. Saraval turned to her council. Their faces showed fear, anger, denial. All the emotions she felt herself. We cannot accept, one counselor said. These terms would destroy our civilization. Our civilization may be destroyed regardless, Saraval replied. Then we fight. We die with honor. Honor. Saraval's voice was sharp. What honor do we have left? We attacked a young species for the crime of not bowing to us. We killed millions of innocents. We created the very thing that now threatens to destroy us. Where is the honor in that? The council fell silent. I do not want to accept these terms, Saraval continued. Every part of me wants to fight. But I must think of our people. Billions of Vrath who had nothing to do with the attack on Earth. Children who never harmed anyone. If we fight and lose, they all die. And if we accept, we become slaves. No, we become what we should have been from the beginning. One species among many. Not rulers. Not conquerors. Just equal. The hour passed quickly. The council argued. They shouted. They threatened. But in the end, they had no choice. Saraval sent her response. We accept your terms. On one condition. Chen's face showed no surprise. What condition? That you accept our surrender now, before the fighting begins. That you spare our civilian population. That you allow us to end this war without more death. Chen was quiet for a long moment. The galaxy watched. Every species capable of receiving the broadcast held its breath. Then Chen spoke. No. Saraval's heart froze. What? I said no. We do not accept your condition. But, you offered terms. We accepted. You accepted too late. I told you that you had 1 hour. You took 1 hour and 7 minutes. The offer has expired. 7 minutes? You would kill billions over 7 minutes? Chen's face was hard as stone. You killed millions in seconds. You did not hesitate. You did not offer 7 minutes of mercy. Why should we? Please, I am begging you. Think of our children. I think of children every day. I think of my niece and nephew. They were 6 and 9 years old. They burned in the first attack. They did not get 7 minutes. They did not get 7 seconds. Saraval felt tears forming in her eyes. Vrath did not cry. But she was crying now. What do you want? Tell me and I will give it to you. Anything. Chen's expression finally changed. Something moved in her empty eyes. Pain. Terrible, endless pain. I want my family back. I want the 60 million dead to live again. I want to undo what was done to us. I want to be the person I was before you destroyed everything. Her voice cracked. Can you give me that? Saraval had no answer. I thought not. Chen raised her hand. All ships. Begin the attack. The human fleet moved forward. 3,000 ships of war, carrying the fury of a wounded species. They headed toward Vrathis Prime, and the final battle began. The Battle of Vrathis Prime began at dawn on the planet below. 800 Vrath warships formed a wall between the approaching humans and their homeworld. Behind them, the planetary shield glowed with energy. Below, ground batteries tracked targets in space. Everything the Vrath had built over 500,000 years was gathered here for this final defense. Against them came 3,000 human ships. Commander Drathok had been released from imprisonment to lead the defense. He had argued against it. He had told them he was broken, that he no longer trusted himself to command. But there was no one else. The experienced commanders were dead or captured. Only Drathok remained. He stood on the bridge of his new flagship, watching the human fleet approach. His hands did not shake. His voice did not waver. He had already accepted that he would die today. That made everything else easier. "All ships, hold formation," he ordered. "Do not advance. Force them to come to us. Every moment they spend approaching is a moment for our ground batteries to target them." The Vrath ships waited. Their shields were at full power. Their weapons were charged. Every warrior on every ship knew what was at stake. The humans did not slow down. They came in a wave of dark metal and terrible purpose. Their formation shifted as they approached, spreading out to present multiple targets. But they did not try to flank or outmaneuver. They simply charged. "They are not using tactics," one of Drathok's officers observed. "They are just coming straight at us. They do not need tactics," Drathok replied quietly. "Their weapons can cut through our shields like they were nothing. Their ships can take hits that would destroy ours. Why would they bother with tactics when they can simply attack?" The first shots were fired. Human weapons reached across space. Those terrible beams of white light struck the Vrath defensive line. Ships that had survived 100 battles died in seconds. The shields that were supposed to protect them failed almost instantly. The Vrath returned fire. Their weapons were powerful by galactic standards, but against the human shields, they might as well have been throwing stones. In the first minute of battle, the Vrath lost 40 ships. The humans lost 3. Drathok watched the numbers change. He felt nothing. He had known this would happen. He had tried to tell them, back at the beginning. He had said the humans were strange. He had said they did not behave like other species. No one had listened. "Continue firing," he ordered. "For every ship we destroy, there is one less coming for our people." The battle continued. On her command ship, Admiral Chen directed the assault with cold precision. She did not feel triumph as Vrath ships exploded. She did not feel satisfaction as the enemy line crumbled. She felt nothing but the same empty purpose that had driven her since the war began. "Enemy fleet is breaking," her tactical officer reported. "They are retreating toward the planetary shield. Do not let them reach it. Cut them off." Human ships surged forward, faster than should have been possible. They intercepted the retreating Vrath, destroying them before they could find shelter behind the shield. In 2 hours, the Vrath fleet was gone. 800 warships reduced to debris floating in space. 100,000 Vrath warriors dead. The largest military defeat in galactic history. But the battle was not over. The planetary shield still stood. The ground batteries still fired, sending massive bolts of energy into space. Some human ships were hit. Some fell. But most survived, and they gathered in orbit, looking down at the protected world below. "Analysis," Chen demanded. "The shield is powerful, Admiral. The most advanced we have ever seen. Our standard weapons cannot penetrate it." "Standard weapons," Chen almost smiled. "Good thing we have non-standard weapons." She sent orders to the fleet. Certain ships moved into position. Certain weapons were prepared. Weapons that had not been used yet. Weapons that had been held in reserve for exactly this moment. On the surface, Saraval watched from her command center. She saw the human ships arranging themselves. She saw them preparing something new. She did not know what it was. She only knew it would be terrible. "Leader, our shield is holding," an aide reported. "The human weapons cannot break through." "Not yet." "What do you mean?" Saraval pointed at the display. "Look at them. They are not attacking the shield. They are preparing something. Something they have not shown us before." "What could be worse than what we have already seen?" Saraval had no answer. But she was about to find out. In orbit, the human ships completed their arrangement. They formed a circle around the planet, evenly spaced. At the center of each ship, something was powering up. Energy readings that made no sense. Frequencies that should not have existed. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication system. "Vrath, your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses cannot protect you. In 30 seconds, we will activate our primary weapon. When we do, your planetary shield will fall. And then we will land ground forces. Those forces will arrest every member of your government. They will dismantle every weapon you have. They will ensure you never threaten anyone again. Saraval responded immediately. Wait. Please wait. We have not rejected your terms. We can still negotiate. The time for negotiation ended an hour ago. You chose not to accept when you had the chance. Now you will accept because you have no other choice. What about our people? Your ground forces will have to fight through our cities. Millions will die. Chen's voice was ice. Then you should have thought of that before you burned our cities. Before you killed our millions. This is your consequence, not ours. The countdown ended. The human ships fired, but they did not fire at the shield. They fired at each other. Or rather, they fired through each other. Beams of impossible energy connected each ship to every other ship, forming a web of light around the planet. The web began to contract. On the surface, instruments screamed warnings. The planetary shield was not being attacked. It was being erased. The web of human energy passed through it like it did not exist. Because to the human weapon, it did not exist. Saraval understood then. The humans had not built weapons to break shields. They had built weapons that made shields meaningless. They had changed the rules of physics itself. How? She whispered. How is this possible? The planetary shield failed. Not because it was destroyed, because it simply stopped existing. The energy that had powered it vanished. The projectors that had created it went dark. In seconds, 500,000 years of Vroth engineering became worthless. The planet lay exposed. Human ships descended through the atmosphere. Transport vessels carrying soldiers. Gunships carrying weapons. They came like rain, falling toward every major city, every military base, every government facility. The Vrath ground forces tried to resist. They had millions of warriors. They had weapons that could destroy buildings. They had been preparing for siege warfare for weeks. It made no difference. The human soldiers were not like anything the Vrath had faced before. They moved with mechanical precision. Their armor absorbed hits that should have killed them. Their weapons cut through Vrath defenses like air, and they showed no mercy. City after city fell. Base after base surrendered. The Vrath warriors, who had never known defeat, threw down their weapons and begged for their lives. The humans took prisoners. They did not torture. They did not massacre. But they were not gentle. They were efficient, cold, unstoppable. In the capital city, Saraval watched the end of her civilization approach. Her guards had abandoned her. Her advisors had fled. She sat alone in her command center, watching the displays that showed human soldiers moving through her city. Moving toward her, she thought about running. She thought about fighting. She thought about taking her own life before they could take her. But in the end, she did none of those things. She simply sat and waited. The door opened. Human soldiers entered, weapons raised. I surrender, Saraval said. I offer no resistance. Please do not harm my people. The soldiers did not respond. They simply secured her, bound her hands, and led her away. The Battle of Vrathis Prime was over. The Vrath Empire had fallen. The galaxy received the news in silence. On 1,000 worlds, 1,000 species watched the broadcasts. They saw the human ships circling the conquered planet. They saw the human soldiers marching through Vrath cities. They saw the leaders of the mightiest empire in history being led away in chains, and they felt something none of them had expected: fear. The Mallory High Merchant sat in his chamber, staring at the images. His aide stood nearby, equally stunned. They won, the aide said. The humans won. Yes, they did. We should be celebrating. The Vrath oppressed us for 10,000 years. We should be happy they are fallen. Should we? The High Merchant's voice was heavy. The Vrath were cruel. They were arrogant. They hurt many species, but at least we understood them. We knew what they wanted. We knew how they thought. He pointed at the display. What do we know about the humans? What do we understand about them? 1 year ago, they were primitives. Now they have conquered the greatest military power in the galaxy. They have technology that should not exist, and they showed no mercy to their enemies. They showed mercy to us, to the other species. Did they? Or did they simply not have time to deal with us yet? The aide fell silent. The question hung in the air, unanswered. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. Species that had hoped for the Vrath's fall now wondered what would replace them. The humans had proved they could defeat anyone. What would they do with that power? The answer came 3 days later. Admiral Chen stood on the surface of Vrathis Prime, in front of what had once been the Vrath High Council chamber. Human soldiers surrounded her. Cameras broadcast her image to every corner of the galaxy. People of the Conclave, she began. I speak to you as the representative of the Human Defense Force. As you know, we have defeated the Vrath Empire. Their military is destroyed. Their leaders are captured. Their homeworld is under our control. She paused, her eyes scanning the camera. Some of you are wondering what we will do now. Some of you are afraid. You remember how the Vrath used their power. You expect us to do the same. Another pause. Longer this time. We will not. A murmur went through the watching galaxy. Humanity did not want this war. We did not want to become what we have become. We were a young species, just starting to explore the stars. We wanted to make friends. We wanted to learn. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. Chen's voice hardened. The Vrath made that impossible. They attacked us without provocation. They killed millions of our people. They burned our world. They forced us to choose between extinction and transformation. We chose transformation. Now we have won. And now we must decide what kind of species we will be. Will we become the new Vrath? Will we use our power to dominate and destroy? Will we make the same mistakes they did? She shook her head slowly. No, we will not. Humanity will not rule the galaxy. We will not demand tribute or submission. We will not attack species that do not threaten us. We will take our place among you as equals, not masters. But hear me clearly. We will also not forget. We will not forget what was done to us. We will not forget the 60 million dead. We will not forget the burning cities and the murdered children. We have become something new, something dangerous, and we will use that danger to protect ourselves and those who need protection. The galaxy watched when we were dying. The galaxy did nothing. We understand why. We do not blame you for being afraid, but we want you to know this. If something like this ever happens again, to us or to anyone else, we will not wait for help that never comes. We will act, and our enemies will learn what the Vrath learned. Chen's eyes found the camera directly. Earth remembers. Earth protects its own. And Earth's retaliation, if provoked, will be swift, complete, and without mercy. The broadcast ended. The galaxy absorbed her words, and for the first time in millions of years, the balance of power in the universe shifted. In the detention facility where Vrath leaders were held, Saraval watched the broadcast. Human guards stood nearby, but they did not interfere. She meant it, Saraval said to herself. Every word. Yes, a voice replied. Saraval turned. Admiral Chen stood in the doorway. I wanted to speak with you, Chen said, before your trial. Why? Because I need to understand. Chen walked closer. Her face was tired. Her eyes were old, far older than her years. Why did you attack us? We had done nothing to you. We posed no threat. Why? Saraval was quiet for a long moment. Because you did not bow. Because you acted like equals. Because my predecessor, Malachar, believed that any species that did not show proper respect had to be punished. That is why he attacked. But what about you? What about the rest of your people? Why did you follow him? Because, Saraval struggled for words. Because that is what we do. That is what we have always done. The Vrath are conquerors. We have conquered for 500,000 years. It is who we are. Was who you were. Chen corrected. Yes, was. They looked at each other. Two leaders, two species, two beings who had become something neither wanted to be. I will testify at your trial, Chen said. I will recommend mercy. You did not order the attack on Earth. You tried to end the war. You do not deserve death. Saraval blinked in surprise. Why would you show me mercy? After everything? Because someone has to. Because if we become nothing but vengeance, we lose whatever made us worth saving in the first place. Chen turned to leave. The war is over. Now comes the harder part. Now we have to learn how to live. She walked away, leaving Saraval alone with her thoughts. Outside, the sun rose over a changed galaxy. The Vrath were defeated. The humans were victorious. And nothing would ever be the same again. But the story was not over. Because true endings are not found in battle. They are found in what comes after. in how the victors choose to use their victory, in whether they learn from the horrors they have witnessed. And that part of the story was just beginning. 5 years had passed since the fall of the Vrath Empire. The galaxy was different now. The old order was gone. The rule of the strong over the weak had ended. In its place was something new, something uncertain, something that was still being built. On Earth, the scars were slowly healing. Cities had been rebuilt. Forests had been replanted. The burned lands were green again. But the deeper scars, the ones that could not be seen, remained. Admiral Chen stood on a balcony overlooking what had once been Beijing. The city sparkled with lights in the evening darkness. 7 million people lived here now, more than before the war. People had come from all over Earth to rebuild, to prove that what the Vrath had destroyed could be restored. But Chen knew the truth. The buildings could be rebuilt. The parks could be replanted. The streets could be filled with people again. But the 60 million who had died would never return. The wounds in the hearts of the survivors would never fully close. She was no longer admiral. She had resigned her commission the day after the Vrath surrender. The work of war was done. She had no interest in the work of peace. "You are thinking again," a voice said behind her. Chen turned. Sarah Park, the physicist who had created the weapons that won the war, stood in the doorway. She had become Chen's closest friend in the years since. "I am always thinking. You are always thinking about the past. About whether we did the right thing." Chen did not deny it. "Did we?" Sarah walked to stand beside her. "We survived. Our species survived. Does that not make it right? Survival at any cost. We did not pay any cost. We did not become monsters. We showed mercy when we could. We built a better future than what came before. Did we?" Chen gestured at the city below. "Look at them. The people down there. They are afraid. Not of the Vrath. Of us. Of humanity. They know what we did. They know what we are capable of. And they are afraid of themselves." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "Fear is not always bad. Sometimes fear keeps us from making terrible mistakes. And sometimes fear makes us into what we fear." They stood in silence, watching the city lights. The debate between them was old. They had had it many times. They would probably have it many more. Finally, Sarah spoke again. "There is news from the conclave. The assembly is meeting tomorrow. They want you to attend. I have already refused." "I know. They asked me to convince you to change your mind." Chen shook her head. "I have nothing to say to them. I am a soldier, a retired soldier. I have no place in politics. You are a symbol, the symbol of human power. Your presence reminds them of what we can do. It makes them take us seriously. Is that what we want? To be taken seriously because they fear us? It is better than being ignored until we are attacked again." Chen could not argue with that. She had made the same argument herself 5 years ago, but she was tired now. Tired of being a symbol. Tired of representing something she was not sure she believed in anymore. "Tell them I will consider it," she said finally. "That is all I can promise." Sarah nodded. "That is enough." The next morning, Chen found herself on a transport heading for the conclave station. Despite her doubts, she had decided to attend, not because she wanted to, because she felt she had to. The station hung in orbit around a neutral world. It was massive, built to accommodate thousands of representatives from hundreds of species. Before the war, humanity had only had observer status here. Now they had full membership. Now they had a permanent seat on the High Council. Chen entered the assembly chamber. Every species in the conclave was represented. She saw Mallory, Trilon, Kessari, and dozens of others she did not recognize. They all turned to look at her as she entered. She felt their eyes. Some curious, some respectful, many afraid. Good, a part of her thought. Fear keeps them in line. Another part of her felt sick. She took her seat in the human delegation. Ambassador Martinez, humanity's official representative, sat beside her. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "Your presence means a lot. I am just watching. Nothing more." Of course, the assembly began. The first item of business was routine. Trade agreements, resource sharing, boring administrative matters that kept the galaxy running. Then came the main topic. "Representatives of the conclave," the assembly speaker announced. "We are here to discuss the reconstruction of the former Vrath territories. As you know, the Vrath Empire covered a quarter of the galaxy. Its fall has left many worlds without governance or protection. Chen listened as various species debated. Some wanted to divide the territories among themselves. Some wanted to establish independent governments for each world. Some wanted to create a new administrative system under conclave control. Through it all, Chen noticed something. Every few minutes, someone would glance in her direction. Every proposal was framed in terms of what humanity might accept. Every argument included a reference to human power or human approval. The galaxy was not debating how to govern the former Vrath territories. They were trying to figure out what the humans wanted. They were afraid to disagree with whatever that was. Finally, Chen stood. The chamber fell instantly silent. "I have listened to your debate," she said. Her voice was calm, clear. "I have heard your proposals, and I have something to say." Every eye in the chamber was fixed on her. Humanity does not have a preference for how the former Vrath territories are governed. We do not want control of those worlds. We do not want influence over their administration. We want only one thing. She paused, letting the silence build. "We want you to stop being afraid." Confusion rippled through the assembly. This was not what they had expected. For 5 years, the galaxy has been afraid of humanity. You watched us destroy the mightiest empire in history. You saw our weapons, our ships, our soldiers. You know what we can do, and you are terrified. This fear makes you weak. It makes you unable to think clearly. It makes you look to us for permission before making any decision. This is not healthy. It is not sustainable, and it is not what we want. Humanity has no desire to rule the galaxy. We have no desire to replace the Vrath as tyrants. We fought them because they tried to destroy us. We beat them because we had no other choice. But we are not conquerors. We are not emperors. We are just people who want to live in peace. She looked around the chamber, meeting eyes that quickly looked away. "I know you are afraid of us. I understand why. We became something terrible during the war. We had to. But the war is over. We want to become something else now. Something better. So here is what I ask of you. Stop looking to us for approval. Stop fearing our reaction. Govern yourselves. Make your own decisions. Build a galaxy where every species has a voice, where the strong do not crush the weak, where peace is the rule rather than the exception. If you do this, humanity will be your partner, your friend, your ally. We will work with you to build something new, something good. But if you cannot let go of your fear, if you continue to treat us as masters to be obeyed, then we will have failed. Not just humanity, all of us. The war will have destroyed more than lives and cities. It will have destroyed our ability to trust each other." She paused, collecting herself. 5 years ago, I led the fleet that conquered the Vrath. I gave orders that killed millions. I did what I had to do, but I take no pride in it. I wish every day that it had not been necessary. Now I am asking you to help me make sure it never happens again. Not to us. Not to anyone. Help me build a galaxy where species like the Vrath cannot rise to power, where attacks like the one we suffered cannot happen, where no one has to become what we became. That is all I have to say. She sat down. The chamber remained silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, slowly, the Mallory representative stood. "Admiral Chen," he said, "my species has been part of the conclave for 100,000 years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have seen countless species make promises of peace and break them. But I have never seen anyone speak as you have spoken. I have never seen a representative of a powerful species ask us not to fear them. I have never seen anyone try to give up power rather than take more." He bowed deeply, a gesture of respect among his people. "You have given us much to think about. I cannot speak for the entire conclave, but I can speak for the Mallory. We accept your offer of partnership. We will work with you to build the galaxy you describe, and we will try to let go of our fear." One by one, other representatives stood. Some made similar statements. Others remained silent. But the mood in the chamber had changed. The fear was not gone. It would take years to fade, but something new had entered, something that might, in time, become trust. After the assembly, Chen walked through the station alone. She found an observation window and stood looking out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds, so many species. "You did well." She turned. Ambassador Martinez had followed her. "Did I?" "You did. You gave them hope. You gave them a reason to believe we are not just monsters. I spoke the truth. That is all. Sometimes that is enough. They stood together, looking at the universe. What happens now? Chen asked. Now, we do the hard work. We build relationships. We solve problems. We prove that our words are not empty. It will take years, decades, maybe centuries, but it can be done. If we do not lose our way. Yes, if we do not lose our way. Chen thought about that, about all the ways they could fail, about how easy it would be to become the thing they had destroyed. Power corrupted. History proved that over and over. Why would humanity be any different? But then she thought about Earth, about the people rebuilding, about the children being born who would never know what it was like to live under the shadow of war, about the scientists working on new technologies, not weapons now but medicine and energy and transportation. She thought about Sarah Park, who had created weapons that could destroy planets but who now spent her days teaching physics to young students. She thought about the 60 million dead. They could not be brought back, but they could be honored by building the kind of future they would have wanted. We can do this, Chen said finally. We have to believe we can do this. We can, Martinez agreed. Together, on Earth, evening came. The cities glowed with light. The farms stretched green across the healed land. The sky was clear, filled with stars that humanity now traveled among. In schools, children learned history. They learned about the war, about the terrible price humanity paid, about the retaliation that shook the galaxy. They learned about the 60 million who died and the billions who survived to build a new world. They learned the lesson that Earth would never forget. Never attack first. Always seek peace. Protect the innocent. Build bridges instead of weapons when possible. But also this: if someone threatens your home, if someone kills your people, if someone tries to destroy everything you love, you have the right to fight back. You have the right to survive. And if survival requires becoming something terrible, then become it. Because the alternative is extinction. This was humanity's legacy. This was what the war had taught them. This was what they would carry forward into whatever future awaited them. The galaxy had watched Earth's retaliation with horror, with fear, with awe. Now it watched humanity's recovery with curiosity, with hope, with cautious optimism. And deep in the darkness between stars, other species observed. Species that had not yet made contact. Species that had been considering whether to emerge, whether to make themselves known to the galaxy. They watched what humanity had done. They watched what humanity was becoming, and they made their decisions. Some decided to stay hidden. The humans were too dangerous. Better to remain in the shadows. But others decided differently. If humanity could go from primitive to powerful in one generation, if they could defeat the unconquerable and then choose mercy over domination, then perhaps this galaxy had room for more than the strong, ruling the weak. Perhaps there was a new path, a better path. Perhaps the galaxy was changing, and at the center of that change, a small blue planet orbited a yellow star, a planet that had nearly been destroyed, a planet whose people had been tested and transformed and tempered in fire. Earth, humanity's home, the place where everything began and everything ended and everything began again. The planet hung in space, beautiful and fragile and utterly unforgiving to any who might threaten it, and the galaxy looked upon it with new eyes, not fear alone anymore. Not hatred or contempt, something else now, respect, because Earth had shown them the truth. The weak were not always weak, the strong were not always strong, and those who underestimated their enemies learned terrible lessons. The galaxy stood in stillness, watching Earth's light shine among the stars, wondering what would come next, hoping for peace, preparing for anything, and humanity looked back at them, ready for whatever the future would bring. The war was over, the story continued, and somewhere in the vastness of space, on a ship traveling toward distant stars, a human child looked out a window at the galaxy before her. She was young, born after the war, knowing it only from stories. "What is out there?" she asked her mother. Her mother smiled. "Everything. Worlds we have not seen, species we have not met, adventures we cannot imagine. Is it dangerous? Sometimes. But we will be careful. And if something threatens us, we will protect each other, like we did in the war. Like we did in the war. But hopefully not like that again. Hopefully we are building something better." The child thought about this. Then she smiled. I want to see it all. Her mother hugged her. You will. Someday you will. And the ship carried them forward. Into the unknown. Into the future. Into whatever destiny awaited. Because that was what humanity did. They survived. They adapted. They grew. And they never, ever forgot. The story of Earth's retaliation was written in the stars. A warning. A promise. A reminder. And the galaxy would remember it forever.